Here it is one more time, I'll show you. When you hold this over to the right, it doesn't do anything. I'm holding it, holding it, holding it, holding it, holding it. The motors are still spinning. I don't know how long you gotta hold it, but apparently it could be a lot longer than I thought. These are a couple of my smallest quadcopters that I like to fly. This is a Taro 130, and this is my Diatone Blade 150. And this is a lot of fun to fly. It has 1306 motors on it, and 3-inch props, and the Diatone props are kind of thick, so they don't break very easy. And this is using 1104 motors, and these are a lot smaller motors, but with a smaller size, you also get lesser weight. And it's also using these real thin propellers with 2 screws hold them on, instead of one prop nut like this one. Anyway, this is a kit that you have to put together yourself. This is almost ready to fly. And today I'm taking a look at this Walkera 150. This is a ready to fly version. Ready to fly means that it comes with everything you need ready to go, including your transmitter and batteries. So let me get this open, we'll take a look at it. So right in here we have the instructions. Oh yeah, there it is. Here's the battery. This looks like it's a 2-cell 850, and it's using that kind of connector, whatever you call that. But it does have a balance lead, so at least you can balance the two. And an 850 2-cell though, that's pretty interesting. That this is going to fly on a 2-cell. Has a little wrench and a hex key. Little plug for maybe a trainer port plug, it looks like. USB cable, hook it up to the computer. A couple sets of props. Oh, these are extra props because there's already props on it. Nice. And here it is. Here's this itself. Wow, this is pretty neat looking. It's all enclosed plastic, so it looks like something that you'd buy down at the toy store. That's pretty cool. Antennas pop up, yeah. And here's the Devo 7. I've never flown with the Devo 7. I've seen a lot of people ask questions about this and say they had these, but I've never seen one of these for myself. This would be kind of interesting to try. This transmitter, it comes with a 3-way switch up here, 2-way switch there, 3-way dial, 2, and oh, this is a trainer switch back here. Pull it up, that's the trainer. Anyway, cool. I'm anxious to try this one out. Also in this package it comes with a charger, probably for the Devo 7, or maybe for your battery charger right here. And this can charge, looks like 2-cell or 3-cell batteries. So that's good that it can do 3-cell, because 2-cell is probably going to be kind of weak, but it'll be a lot of fun. Here's the FPV antenna, and it's an SMA antenna. So this plugs on here, good. So I was looking over the manual a little bit for this, and this actually has a lot of cool features. One, this camera angle can go up and down, so if you're a little bit more experienced, you can point it up if you want to go faster, or if you want to go a little slower or just kind of learn, you can point it down a little bit, and it helps you just go slower because you can't see as much when you start leaning forward to see where you're going to go. Also, over on this side, it said there's a red LED, but I couldn't find it, but it'll probably light up somewhere in here when it turns on. Up here on the front, it has 2 LEDs that are back here behind this little plastic, clear plastic thing here, and that would be kind of nice to be able to maybe act as a headlight, but I'm betting not. It's probably just more for other people being able to see the quadcopter itself, I would guess. Over here on the side, it has a USB port up here, and this is connecting into your flight board, so you can do upgrades through here. It says upgrade port on it. And I'm not sure if this works with clean flight or not yet. Down here it has 6 pins that are designed so you can have your own external receiver if you don't want to use the one that came with it. Also right here is a little tiny switch, and I don't know if I can get close enough, but if you slide it to the left it says S-Bus, and to the right is PPM, so it'll be able to recognize what kind of transmitter you're using. Down here on the back, this is where you slide this up, and this is where the battery pack is. The battery pack goes inside here, so it doesn't look like you have a lot of options if you want to use batteries that fit in here. So it's probably going to be your 2-cell batteries, or if you have a real small 3-cell, you might be able to squeeze it in there. Up here on the top, it has this little door that opens up, and this is the binding button if you need to bind your receiver back down to the Rodeo 150. And also right there are the little dip switches that are used to change the video frequency that your video transmitter broadcasts on. Now a couple things. Here's this manual, and it says, the manual says that your auto level switch is this number 11 right here, so it's the one on the left on the top right. This one here. So this is your auto level switch. That's auto, and this is less auto, and this is acro mode. So that's kind of useful to know. Back here, there was one thing that's kind of funny. Here's this little description of the way that you're supposed to install your propellers. Okay, so this propeller is turning to the left. Wait, that little arrow says it's turning to the right. Okay, what about this one? Well, this one says to the right, that one says to the left. So I don't know why they got the wrong colors on here or something, but it actually came with the propellers the way that I would expect them to be, and that's where it's turning into the middle. If this is the middle coming in like this, they're both installed to turn this direction. And when you're coming from the back, they both turn into the middle like this as well. So I think that's the way it's supposed to go, just like every other standard quadcopter layout on CleanFlight. So we'll check that out in a little bit. Also here in the manual, it has the dip switch layout for your video transmitter. And looks like these are actually the B channels. Now they're not in the same order that my other stuff has them in, but these look like they're in descending order, so I guess that's okay. It just makes it a little bit more complicated. But if you're going to fly at the races, and especially if they're using the IMD5, you need to make sure that one of these channels is on there, because I do not think that it is. In fact, I'm telling you now, they're not on there, because they are only in the E band and the F band. Anyway, there's the dip switches for the thing. So they should work with your other Bosscam stuff or your Fat Shark goggles, assuming you can pick up the Bosscam channels. Here's another page inside here, and apparently they wanted you to know if you're flying a Dream Baron, it's more suitable for experienced pilots. I'm not sure why the Dream Baron is mentioned in the Rodeo 150 manual, but in case you have one, just know that it's better suited for experienced pilots. So here's the Rodeo 150, and there's the motor that's on it, and here's my Blade 150 with the 1306 motor. And you can see here that this Rodeo 150 motor is just a little bit bigger than the 1306, so I'm not really sure what size it is, but it's a little bit bigger than a 1306. So my 2-cell battery's charged up. I'm gonna go ahead, and I'm not sure exactly how they want you to put this in here, but I think it kind of works well if you do it like this. There we go, and that way it stays down in there pretty snug, and then it gives enough space up here on the top for these to connect together. So I'll go ahead and plug these in. We'll see if this thing works. Spoiler, I already tried it, so I know it's gonna work. Alright, so there the battery's in now. I'll push it down a little bit, slide this cover back on, and there we go. And there's the red LEDs that indicate that it's trying to bind to something. And there's the bright LEDs on there. They don't look so bright on the screen, but they're pretty bright. Okay, I'll put that down up there. And here's this Devo 7. I'll go ahead and turn this on. And we should see this thing stop blinking here in a second if it binds. Yep. They're bound to it now because you can tell because the red light stopped blinking and the beeping stopped. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and try to arm these motors. And it says to arm them is to the, they call it lock and unlock. So to unlock the motors, we need to move the stick down to the bottom left. So we'll see how that goes. And then if you want to lock the motors or disarm it, you move it down to the bottom right. And then, I'm saying bottom right because I'm using a mode 2, and bottom left because I'm using mode 2. So we go down left and it should turn on. Yep, there they go. Alright, so if I push it down right, they should shut off. They're not shutting off. I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do. Alright, so I very carefully picked it up and took the bottom off and unplugged the battery so it stopped spinning. Okay, let me get, we'll take a look and see if the FPV stuff is working. Then we'll take it out for a little flight. I have my video screen up, so let's go ahead and get this thing plugged in again. And see if we can pick up a video. Oh, look at that. Well, it was on the right channel. There we go. Look at that. That's a near perfect picture. Awesome. Awesome. So if you angle the camera up all the way, you're basically looking straight up. If you angle the camera down, then you're looking a little bit down, and you can kind of see a little bit of the bottom of the little housing there on the front. But that's okay. You can still see where you're going when you start moving forward. But let's go ahead and put this thing up a little bit, and we'll see how it flies. So let's go ahead and get this thing weighed. Here it is with everything in it, including the battery. It comes in about 219.2 grams. And that's light enough that anybody can buy this and fly it without even having to worry about it being registered. So here's the prop, and the prop comes out to be about 3.5 inches. And it just so happens here I have a set of DYS props, and these are 35-45 props. So these are self-tightening props, which means that there's no prop nuts. And so in the other videos I've talked about, if you turn on a counterclockwise and clockwise nut, if you turn the nut up the propeller the same direction that goes up the propeller, it should break loose. And so if we turn this to this way, just like going up the propeller, there you can see there it's spinning loose. And there we go. It's off. Let me get one of these props out of the package and we'll see if these fit on there. And I'm thinking they will because they look like they're 5mm shafts. So here we go. Alright, let's see. This looks... It's a little bit smaller than a 5mm shaft. And you can see these are a little bit shaky on here. You might have to have some prop adapters if you're actually going to use this. Let me measure the shaft and we'll see how big it really is. I'm going to get down here where it's solid. It's a 4mm shaft instead of a 5mm shaft. Most of the props you buy are going to come with a 5mm hole in them. So you're going to have 1mm prop adapters if you're actually going to put these on here. But even the 3.5-inch prop, it fits on there just fine, and it's not going to hit anything. And it spins just fine. Whoa, there we go. If I compare these two props together, you can see that the white one is just a hair longer than the 3.5. So this is probably like 3.6, or it's probably some metric size propeller. It doesn't actually say on here anything about the sizes though. Got my video screen out here. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. This is gonna be a long flight because there's no way to disarm the motors yet. So I'll have to do a little research on that. But let's see. There we go. And it's still beeping because the transmitter's not on. Now as soon as I turn this transmitter on, yep, there it goes. It bound up to the Rodeo 150 again. Alright, this first flight is just going to be a little line of sight flying, and I'm going to test out the auto levels here. Okay, it armed okay, and it's a little windy out here, but we'll see. And this is on the auto level right now, and boy, the wind, it does not do well in the wind with the auto level on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the auto level off. Whoa, there we go. And boy, it's sensitive on the pitch and roll are sensitive. I think just the weight of this thing makes it easy to for the 2-cell to make it actually fly real well. Let's see if it'll flip. Oh yeah, it'll flip. I'll try another flip here. There we go. We'll try a back flip. Oh yeah. Oh wow. And this is zero tuning. This is straight out of the box. This is pretty good. Now, if you're going to do flips, you got to be in acro mode, and I don't recommend pulling it out of the box and just doing flips right away. That would probably not be one of the best things you did. You'd be better off learning how to do a little auto level flying and then get into acro a little later. Here, I'll go ahead and flip the auto level on. And the auto level, all it does is just helps it keep level. It doesn't stop it, it just helps you stay level. And so there's all the way forward on auto level. Even with the auto level on, it's still pretty fast. It's not as cool to watch fly when the auto level's on though. There, the LEDs are blinking because the battery's getting low. And you can also kind of hear a beeper. It's a little bit quiet. But again, I don't have any way to disarm it. So I have to take it apart. Take it apart and unplug the battery. This always scares me a little bit. There we go. The battery's a little warm. That's probably another disadvantage. There's no airflow over this battery. So the whole compartment in there gets a little bit warm, but that's the way it goes. So here on the Devo, to get to the Expo settings, you want to push enter and you should start seeing something blink up here. And you want to move over to where it says function. Then push the enter key. And you want to come down here to where it says DR Expo, and you go up and down through these lists here. But DR Expo, push enter, and then your screen is probably going to say like this, channel elevator. So the first one we'll change is the elevator. So you get to here, and there we go. And then you can push on this left one, you push down until you get down to Expo. And then you push the down arrow on this side till it gets to a positive 40. And 40 is just kind of what I'm using. You might like it a little bit more sensitive or less sensitive depending on your flying style, but 40 really smoothed it out for me. So once it's the 40, you just push it. I pushed enter, then you push back up on this until we get over to channel again. Now we're going to change this channel to aileron and then go down on this side to Expo again. And I changed this one to positive 40 as well. And then the rudder, if we come on, look at this one I did not change. And line just means that any amount of movement on here is equal to any amount of movement anywhere else on the whole throw. The Expo, what it really does is it makes it so that this middle stick movement here is not very sensitive, and it makes the stick movement out here a lot more sensitive. That way when you're flying you can make little movements like this and your quad isn't jerking back and forth so much. It's more of a smooth turning kind of feel to it. So anyway, that's on the Devo 7. If you have a different transmitter, the Expo is going to be in a little different place. We're out here at McDonald Park and we're going to do some racing around these field goal posts. Now I'm going to time them to see how fast this Rodeo 150 goes around. Then I'm going to time the same thing with my TCR 260 4-cell to see what the difference is. Not fair, I know, but that's okay because I don't care about fair. So the Rodeo 150 did about 15 seconds on a lap, and it was able to finish 2.5 laps. One lap was about, mostly 3/4 throttle, and then the second lap was mostly full throttle, and it was destroying the two-cell battery in this. The TCR 260, of course, this one should be a lot faster. It did the a lap in about 10 seconds, and then actually did 3 laps, and each lap was about 10 seconds. And this battery was begging for mercy. In fact, it's still a little warm right now. It's 1800 4-cell, and like I said, it's a little hot. So the Rodeo 150, a couple of things that you might have problems with this is this rear battery door. You might actually end up losing it, not when you're like flying, because I don't think it's going to have any problem staying on. It's going to be more when you're charging a battery. Like another thing that this could really use is an external switch on it, because if you're going to take this with you, you have to leave the battery door off to you know, while you're traveling, because you don't want to, because it won't close with the battery unplugged. At least I can't get it to fit. And so you might end up losing that, and it would just be nice if there's an external switch on it. Also, it'd be nice if there's a way to pull the balance cord out of it, through the door somehow, so you could balance charge this while it's still inside the quadcopter, or have some kind of charging port on the quadcopter itself. Another thing that you might have problems with is the limited battery size, being that it's a 2S and it's using the EC2 adapter. It's a little bit hard to find those batteries that come with those on there. So you might actually have to do some modification to an existing battery that you already have. Not a big deal, you just got to do more work for it. But they are starting to sell the extra batteries for this now. The other downfall that this has is it doesn't work with clean flight. So if you're used to tuning your Naze 32 or your SP racing boards, or whatever you're tuning with clean flight, you can't use it with this. I can't get this to recognize in clean flight, and because I can't use it in clean flight, I don't know how I'm supposed to set up the disarming the motors or locking the motors without some kind of configuration tool. So I'm not real sure about that one either. A couple of things Walkera did real well is they have the LEDs integrated into this, so that gives you a good visual that when you turn it on, that it's actually powered on. Also, the beeper inside here is plenty loud. Even when it's flying around, I can hear it pretty well. The other thing they did well is it's a small size. It's a 150, and these antennas just lay down so that when you travel, they're not sticking out all over the place and causing you more headache. Another thing that did real well is this thing is very well tuned out of the box. You don't have to do any tuning with this, and it flies real well. The only thing I would recommend is changing down those expos, or raising your expos so it's a little less sensitive, because when it was flying the first time it was just real jerky like this, and then with the expo on it gets more of a smooth kind of turning and things like that. But it's not bad tuned though, the way it came. I think if you are new to quads, this would be a good one for you to try, just because everything works out of the package except for disarming the motors for me. But I talked to some other people and theirs did it okay. It's probably just some kind of configuration or something that I'm not figuring out yet. If you have any questions about this, leave in the comments and I'll try to help you out as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.